Okay. All right. Good morning. I'm here and live. So we'll see when people pop up.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you gotta say hi. Hey.
You guys have a fridge here to keep this for later, right?
We do. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
great day.
It's gonna be your lunch. Okay. Oh, speakers up.
Hey, Janine
Hey.
Metz.
Hello, Bob.
Hey,
Google.
how are you guys?
Good. It looks like it's only us, but
Yeah, well, Mara Lee's on there as well. I don't know if you can see her. And if you want, I know there's probably a setting somewhere down below where you can choose to have your camera, because I don't know if you see in the little, you probably see a picture of me, but I don't see you right now.
okay. Let me.
But not that, if you want to remain anonymous or unpictured, that's fine too. So,
Laura Jack the speaker.
Screen. Maybe that's it. One you just had. Chat.
I
Video.
see chat.
Down below,
Oh, down.
below
Now I
the
see it down
share
below.
screen. Yeah. Participants, invite, chat.
Start video. You're starting the video.
That's mute.
It's
You don't want to
mute. Invite.
Record, chat, share screen. The share screen is.
Where is that?
That's down there, but that's
Oh.
for sharing. If you're going to put something on there, you're not doing that.
yeah, I'm trying to think. These are
Do that.
screen.
Oh, down here. Okay. Did you get, I got it. Full screen, side by side mode.
That's right. It looks like Mara's on. Mara, but she's muted. Hey, Mara, I think you've muted yourself. Do you know how Janine can show her picture, or you could show yours? Because I don't see you either.
Oh, okay.
Huh. I don't have a camera on my.
Oh, you don't. So that's why you wouldn't. Okay.
Yeah, Janine, do you have a camera on your?
Yeah, I do.
Is it enabled on your computer?
Now I got side by side mode, so it shows.
Mute yourself.
Can you hear?
We can hear you.
We can
Yeah.
hear you.
Right. Rename, hide non video. Record?
No.
No, you don't want to record, but your camera on your laptop or your computer would need to be enabled. Do you use more than one screen?
Yes, I got a big screen up because we were going to have people here, but it's just us. So I guess we could come by the computer and just, maybe that's why it's not showing.
That could be. That's
Yeah, it
very
could be
possible.
the computer you're using doesn't have it, or it's.
Enable your on your computer. It's not on. Is it flashing red?
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, she's never used a camera on her computer.
Oh, yeah. Well, it could be. No, it's no big deal either way. I mean, I can imagine what you guys look like. So. And not that.
Oh, here you go. Got it. Start video.
No, not start video.
Yes. Select the camera. That's just Sheba.
Well, there's Rick. Hey, Rick, can you hear us? See, Rick's coming on. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see him muted. Hey, Rick.
That's not what you want, though.
Yeah, I do.
We'll figure it out. There's got to be a button. I did it the other day with my group. Somebody will pop on and they'll have it figured out. So.
It says turn off the thing, but it's.
Yeah.
That's video. You want this camera, web camera.
Got it. Hey, Mara, what do you think? Right now I can see like 5. When we get more than that, will I see their icons, or will it just people be popping in and out on my thing?
You should be able to see their icons.
Everybody, even if we have like 20 in there?
I think so. Yeah, it'll just start getting smaller.
Okay, got it.
Video is working.
I know you're not doing a video. You're doing.
Yes, it is video, honey.
Okay.
So there's something, I can't remember what it was. There was a little thing, because I did the same thing when I had this. I used this for my class a couple weeks ago that I'm taking, and it was I had my profile picture already up there, so all it was showing was my profile picture, but it wasn't showing me live, and I had to click something to say allow something, or I can't remember what it was. So
Here it says display up to 49 participants on the screen.
yeah.
So it's showing that.
Hey, Mara.
Yeah, I'm looking into it.
Okay, good. I figured she was. So Mara will research it. She'll find it for us. So I see Laura. Who else? We got Margot is on. Margot's there. Hey, Mara. Margot, how are you? Oh, you muted yourself, Margot. So.
Hi, sorry.
Oh, there you go. And Rick, you're muted as well, just so you know, if you can hear us. So.
You can't.
But I can only see so many people, and I may not be able to see everybody as we go. We'll give everybody a couple minutes to get in, just to make sure. This is our first venture into this, since it's we'll give everybody about 2 or 3 minutes to make sure people are logging in as we come, and just check and see if you want to have your audio where I can hear you. There's probably something like Laura, I can see that you're muted. Rick, I can see you're muted. I don't know if you guys see that, just so in case you want to dialogue. And we're working on trying to find a way where I can see your guys' pictures. Like, for instance, Janine, can you see when you see Margot, you don't see her picture of her face, you just see it says Margot Bartlett, right?
You're the only one I see.
Okay. Do you see little icons or words that say everybody else that's there?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, but no screen pictures. Okay, we'll figure that out. Mara's going to work on that and figure out what we need to do to have people be able to do that. So I'm going to real quick go live on Facebook, because I think some people may be looking there, and I'll just remind them that we're not going to do Facebook Live. So
I did it from my little thing.
just to make sure people are aware of that,
You hid yourself, so what you did.
and then we'll get started. So.
Participants.
All right.
Put your camera, hit the.
It's not letting me. It's weird.
Okay, so now I'm live on Facebook, so no need for you guys to go there. But hey, if you are on Facebook Live looking for the 100K, remember we're doing that through Zoom session. So if you go to the pin post at the top of the 100K Facebook page, you will see the link to join the Zoom session. So we're going to be leaving this live session, going to Zoom only. And if you guys want to check that out, the link is at the top. So, hey, Renee, I see you on live. And just so you know that we're leaving here at the top of the 100K is a link, Sarah, as well. You guys know we're going to be leaving live. I want to make sure you guys are clear. Leaving live, go to the 100K page, Frances, Sarah Davidson, all these people. Just want to remind you guys that we are going to be on the Zoom session. So you need to go to the pinned post that's at the top of the 100K Facebook page. And there's a way to, hey, Tiffany, if you want to join this, you go to the Zoom session. You have to join Zoom. And we'll give you guys about 2 or 3 minutes to get logged into the Zoom session so we can see it, because we're live on Zoom now. So remember, go watch the Zoom session. The link is at the top of the page. If you're watching on a phone, remember, your phone is, you can't see the pinned post. You have to actually, hey, Janine, I see you on Zoom.
Yeah, I hit Alt-V.
Alt-V?
Yes.
All right, so Rick and Margot and Mara, are you guys on Zoom? Hit Alt. There, Margot, we see you now.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, so we're figuring that is going on. So Cynthia Myers, everybody, Scott, all you guys watching live, remember that I'm going to leave live here in about 1 minute, and we're going to be only on Zoom this morning. And again, the link to the Zoom session is at the top of the 100K page. There's a link that says join Zoom now. And when you join Zoom, you may have to download the player for it first. So if you haven't done that, do that real quick and then jump in. We'll give you guys 2 or 3 minutes. The link is there. Zoom it's like a go-to-meeting kind of thing. So we should be all good to go there. And then we can work through the kinks of this first one. I appreciate it. I'm actually sitting at the Winter Park office with no one here, which is kind of what I figured, because as soon as I make this available, Tiffany, no problem. I see you on Facebook Live on your way to a closing. So that's perfect. All right. And by one of the reasons we're choosing Zoom is that if we do Zoom, then we can upload that recording to our FHR University, whereas we can't with Facebook Live. So, all right. So just reminder again, I'll post it again. All you guys on Facebook Live, we are switching to Zoom. All right, here in about 1 minute. All right, so I'll keep you live for another minute just to remind you. But the link to the Zoom session is at the top of the 100K page. So make sure you see that link, join the Zoom session. And because right now on Zoom, I can't tell how many exactly we have, but we've got 7 or 8, 9, 10. Sarah's there. Hey, guys, if you are on Zoom, we discovered if you hit Alt-V, then your camera will show so we can see your lovely, wonderful, wonderful faces. So Esther, Tiffany, Henry, Laura, Sarah, Rick's there. It's kind of, who's old enough to remember Romper Room? Remember that? Okay. You guys, all my millennials and my Gen Xers are like, what the heck's Romper Room? All right, but remember when Miss Mary Ann would say, and she put this little mirror up and say, "I see Johnny," and I sit there and wait with bated breath to see if she would say Bobby. Forever.
I see Bobby.
Okay. All right, that's it. See, so all you guys, Sandra, Sarah, Esther, Tiffany, Henry, unless you are in a position where you've got your bedhead working and you don't want us to see you, we totally get that. But if you want your video to be, your lovely face to be seen, then hit Alt-V. At least that's what worked on Janine's camera. And I think Margot, it worked for her. And Rick. Hey, Rick, what's going on, brother? Hey, Rick, unmute. You are muted. So I think it's on. There you go. Now I see. Now I can hear you.
We're in the Wesley Chapel office.
Oh, what's happening? How's Wesley Chapel doing?
The 5 or 6 that are supposed to be here haven't shown up yet.
Well, that's okay. I'm sitting here alone in Winter Park. That's okay. I could have been doing this at my house here in Windermere, but I guess I do that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off live. By the way, guys, if it looks like nobody else is jumping in, so I'm going off of live. Remember, the Zoom session's where you want to be. The link to the Zoom session is on the top of the 100K page. It's in the pinned post, so you can see that link and join us. And once you join, make sure you use Alt-V. Did that work for you, Rick, as well, to add your camera?
It did, Alt-V.
Okay. All right, perfect. So Alt-V seems to be the secret. So thank you, Janine Metz, for figuring that out. Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going off live. See ya. All right, so I'm still here on Zoom, guys. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. We are, let's see.
Okay, so now I'm.
I am, it's 9:38. Let's get started. So, all right. Hey, Sandra, we see you now.
Sorry.
All right. No problem. Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
All right. Good morning. All right. And Margot, North Tampa 10. That is. Some of you guys, North Tampa 10 or 10 something something. Laura, Henry, you guys are muted and I don't see your picture. But that's okay. All right.
That's us.
Frances, I see you now. Frances is here, but if you want your video, do Alt-V. Alt-V will share your video from your camera. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get started. Let me go back for a second. So And remember, the whole purpose of this one is we're going to do time management. And time management, obviously, there have been, sessions done on time management for, probably since the beginning of time, right? Because we had something to manage at that point. So probably maybe about 3 or 4 years ago when I reread, you guys can see my PowerPoint there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Good. All right. So back in about 3 or 4 years ago, when I first read Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? I ran across and I was going through and I was being totally mesmerized by what I was learning. But then I got to habit 3, and habit 3 really attacks the whole idea of time management. So I'm going to go through some different, because Covey covers the different generations of time management, okay, from all the way from having to-do lists and on down to what we're going to try and focus on and do some, some stronger things. So with that in mind, I want to cover a little bit of habits 1 and 2, just so we introduce ourselves. By the way, I did assign or suggest you get a copy of this book and read it, or at least habit 3 in advance of. Who was willing to take on that challenge? Anybody?
Yeah, we did.
Awesome. How far did you guys get? Oh,
We listened to the video.
oh, good.
Audio on the way to the cruise ship.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Good deal. That's perfect. Was it the one that Covey reads himself?
Yes.
That's a good version. I really like that audio version because it really helps.
Yeah, we have the book too, so I looked through
Nice.
the book as well.
Perfect. Good deal. All right, Rick, you guys are back on off of mute, so I hear you guys as well. So, and I just want to do a last check to see who else we got. I got Margot and Sandra, and Mara is muted. Laura is muted. Henry is there, but now muted. Tiffany's there. Francesca, Sarah.
Left is
Perfect. Okay, cool. All right. So, all right, let's get started. So now, when I say a new paradigm, if you've read the book, you'll understand what paradigm is all about.
Yep.
Because we all have used the word paradigm before, but Covey uses the whole paradigm idea a lot in his book, right? And so we want to take a look at time management from a different perspective. Instead of just being a situation where we're going to, how do I want to put it? Just put out fires all day long. All right. We want to be so proactive in our management of our time that we're going to be in charge of it. Instead of us reacting to it, we are going to proactively tell our time what to do. All right. And that's the greatest conundrum. I mean, whenever people teach time blocking or anything else in time management, it's always I got to start this out. It starts with the commitment to doing it, right? Because if we're not committed to making it happen, then it's not going to happen. All right, that's just a given. All right, life takes over, and pretty soon our calendar gets away from us, right? And so what we're going to work on here is doing some different things by utilizing habit 3, which is putting first things first. So, all right, so let me just revisit habit 1. Habit 1, if you haven't read the book yet, I'm again going to encourage you to go back to the book. All right. Habit 1, you're the creator, you're in charge, I can change, right? That's the whole concept of that where I am is my responsibility, and I can change that by actions that I take, okay? So that's the whole idea of habit 1, you're the creator, you're in charge, right? Habit 2 is the first or mental creation, is we have to then, it's called begin with the end in mind. I'm sorry, habit 2 is not begin with the end in mind. Let me get to it. It is begin with the end in mind. Yeah, we got a vision, all right, what our end is going to look like, okay? So that's, remember, if you haven't read the book, I've referenced it in past 100Ks, that everything that we have in life today is a result of 2 creations. The first creation is the mental creation. That's whatever, no matter what you look around, whether it be the table, the chair that you're sitting at, it was created first in someone's mind, and then the physical manifestation of that came later. That's the second creation, all right? So we've got to first create what we want our change to look like, all right? And then we get to habit 3, all right? It's the second or physical creation, the fulfillments of habits 1 and 2, all right? And habit 3 is defined as specifically putting first things first, all right? Now, this is where people have talked a long time about prioritizing, right? and making sure that we focus on the important and not the necessarily the urgent. And we're going to get into that here in a bit as well. Because a lot of times we spend so much time just trying to put out fires and doing the urgent that we forget about the important, right? And we're going to kind of go through that here. And that's why it was eye-opening for me once I started to see what was happening. All right. So, by the way, I see most of you are muted, and that's okay. If you want to chime in, that's fine. I'm happy to have you chime in. Just make sure you announce your name. Hey, this is Janine, and then make sure you're not muted so we can make sure you hear you. Okay. So, all right. Leadership is deciding. Okay. So true leadership is deciding what first things are, and self-management is the discipline to carry out these first things. So, in his book, Covey differentiates between when I say what first things are, you have to have a decision what those first things are, what the things you want to, what are the important things, right? And then the self-management comes in the self-discipline to actually carry out those things. So it's one thing to know them. We got to set them in our mind. That is, what leadership is. And then the self-management comes in to actually implement. It goes back to the whole implementation of, are we going to utilize what we're doing or is our daily life actually in line with what we're planning on trying to achieve in what our leadership decided that was. Okay. So he covers 4 generations of time management. All right. Generation 1 back in the day was just sheerly notes and checklists, right? I do this all day long. If you look at my calendar, all right, I have my calendar out and it's filled with just basically it's a to-do list, right? It's things that I have scheduled, checklists of things. Now, again, compared to doing nothing, this is ideally a wonderful concept. It'll change your life just actually writing things down. We kind of half joked the other day in our 100K about how the most productive days we have are usually the day before we go on vacation, right? Where now all of a sudden I'm going to make sure that, hey, look, I've got a limited amount of time because I'm going on a cruise ship, right? Or I'm flying on a plane or whatever that might look like. I've got limited time that I can actually do certain things. So I'm going to have to prioritize. I'm going to have to knock them out. I'm going to have to get these things done. So that's generation 1. And a lot of us have done that. All right. Then we move to generation 2, which are calendars, appointment books, electronic calendars. Now this is the movement. Okay. Now I'm going to take my to-dos and I'm going to schedule them a little bit. All right. So that's generation 2. A lot of us are there. Some of us, and if you unmute yourself, I want to take a quick poll. All right, so let me just go through. We'll start at the top of my list of people that as they logged in. So Janine and Howard, all right. Do you guys use a paper calendar, an appointment book, a paper or electronic?
Electronic.
I use paper.
Okay.
I the exact same book that you have. I do the to-do lists. I do everything the same way. I've been trying to turn electronic and my brain just can't wrap around it. I don't know if it's because I'm a visual person or what, but I really have a hard time with that.
That's fine. And you know what? I think everybody's in each individual, it works for them, right? So Howard, what works for you with being electronic is awesome. For me, Janine, I'm with you as I'm not the most technology savvy guy, but I can certainly use the calendar in my phone if I wanted to. It's just that I don't find it as effective for me to have something that I can actually see my whole week laid out and in front of me. I'm just better off that way.
I actually found out that appointments that I'm out and about, I put on my phone.
Right.
And then the planning is more on my book.
That's a great, I don't think that's caught that, but
anytime I
that's
get
a
to
great
my book, I go to my phone and put the stuff on there, but this way the out and about gets on my phone.
Yeah, so it's kind of a combination of the two, right? That's where you use, and I would think I kind of in the same way. Like sometimes the nice thing about electronics is that I can put reminders on there. It'll put me 10 minutes ahead. It'll remind me that I need to be someplace or I need to make this phone call or whatever that is. So that's great. So a combination of the two. All right, Rick, so your group in Wesley Chapel, do you guys want to chime in? Electronic or paper?
Myself, I'm electronic.
Okay, all electronic, 100%.
Yes.
All right. How about else? I see you got a few other people that have arrived there. Hey, gang. I'm sorry. Say that.
Both electronic and paper.
Okay. Perfect. Absolutely. Kind of long. Are you like Janine, where the long range planning is in paper, but then your kind of everyday little reminders are on electronic?
On the phone. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right, I agree with that. Perfect. Anybody else in there?
Paper.
Paper? All right,
Yeah.
love that. You're a paper guy like me. I'm a paper fan. Anybody else? All right, good. All right. Hey, Frances, you're on mute. We can't see you, but do you want to chime in on whether you do paper or electronic? Or maybe she's muted for a reason. I've been in those situations on conference calls, if you know what I mean. Let's see. Margot, how about you?
I use my phone for making appointments, just like Janine, but every week I write out hourly on paper what I'm doing, because
Awesome.
if not, I can't remember it. I just need to see it and write it.
Right. Well, and here's, you said hourly?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I just do 9 to 10, I'm doing this.
Right. Perfect. Now, let me ask you this. How often, and this is, a good question for us all, how often does that change? I mean, you plan that out, let's say at the beginning of the week. How often do you have to scratch things out and move things, arrows going over to the next day? How often does that happen?
Oh, it changes all the time.
Right,
Yeah,
good.
but it just makes me feel better to plan everything at once, like what's for dinner, all of it right in a row. I do it on Monday morning, not Sunday night. But.
Awesome. That's great. As a quick side note, I'm reading a book, rereading a book. I've referenced it in past 100Ks. I don't have the physical book in front of me. It's called, it's a lady named Ruby Payne, Payne. And it's, let me get the exact title. It's an in-depth study. Being an educator or a past educator, you might find it interesting, but it's a framework for understanding poverty. Right? Which is what in the world? Why aren't you reading a success book? Why don't we have a framework for understanding wealth? Well, the key is that we have to understand it all, in my opinion, right? And there are certain unwritten rules and habits that poverty and middle class and wealth have, right? And so I'm reading it from the perspective, I still have a young man that I'm mentoring through the Big Brothers, Big Sisters, group that I've had since he's in kindergarten. Now he's getting ready to graduate from college. Right.
Oh,
and so, so it's exciting days. He's going to be a first generation college graduate. So it's kind of fun for us to see the whole, evolution come to pass. But that being said, I'm reminding myself of where he came from and the skill set and the resources he had from his quote unquote poverty home. Right. And that things that I would think would be second nature are not so much second nature. You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting to do, but it's a great book to read because they talk about, and Margot, the reason I brought that up is because when you said you like to organize and just have everything in place, one of the differentiators between poverty and middle class is organization, right? And you start to read this in poverty, they're moving every 3 to 6 months because they're usually getting evicted, right? So there's not even a drawer for the silverware. That's just stuff. Silverware is mixed with the plates, whereas middle class, now we start, hey, that drawer is for silverware. This cupboard is for plates. This, you know what I mean? And as much as we think that that's just, wow, but in true poverty, they don't have that. So it's kind of interesting to see. But the fact that organization is so important to you means that you are certainly in a higher class, right? That's good. So
now
that's right, exactly.
But I remember the poverty years too.
Well, but that's why. But maybe you remember it so much that you wanted to come out of it, and that was a driver for you to making sure that you're organized, and for your family, you're going to be sure to be organized, right? Because you may not have had it modeled as growing up. So
exactly.
Interesting. So all right, so let's move on here. Great. Sandra, what about you? Do you use paper or electronic?
I do both.
Okay, good. Awesome.
Like Margot, I do all my scheduling electronics, but my to-do lists are in paper. I kind of like to check them off as I go.
There's something cathartic. We talked about that last time too. There's something really exciting about checking something off or scratching through it once it's been accomplished, right? I think it's very tactile that you can feel that and get excited about that. So that's incredible. So hey, Laura, you're muted. Laura Hamdoui, you're muted. Do you want to share or not? If not, no big deal. I'm not going to make anybody.
Some people answer.
No, maybe she. That's great. How about Henry? There's Laura.
Yeah,
Laura, how are you?
Sorry about that. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hey, do you want us to see your video, by the way, or no?
No, it's crazy here today.
Okay. I understood. No problem. We give everybody the freedom. Just quick reminder, if you're just joining us, if you want us to see your face, your lovely face, just hit Alt-V. V is in video, and we'll be able to see you. So, Laura, how about you then? How about paper or electronic?
Both as well. I love my Google Calendar, but I also like to write everything else down, the notes and checklists.
That's perfect. Good. I think that's going to be, since it seems to be very much the consensus. Henry, how about you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
All right. I'm in a Starbucks, so I just want to make sure
the
phone's on. Well, I do a little of both. Mostly I do Google Calendar because I can integrate everything, including my driving directions, addresses, and then right into my phone. But I do some, the daily tasks. I'll write out everything that I need to do and then check it off as I move down.
Awesome. I think that's great. And, technology is, if it's used well, boy, it can be a very much a time saver and a lifesaver, really, so much more efficient. So I love guys like you, Henry, that can do that and just, sync everything up and all that. And so now all of a sudden your driving directions are already loaded in. That's pretty incredible. That's impressive. So good deal. All right. So you can mute yourself and make sure you get that double latte. Hey, Tiffany, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. How are you?
I'm good. I have 2 kids at home, so it's a little bit crazy here.
Understood. So how about you? Hey, hi, buddy.
Say hi. Hi, everybody. It's my son, Logan.
Hey, Logan. So paper or electronic?
Definitely electronic because we're balancing 2 agents here in this household, so we definitely need a balance of, some sort of organization. We're just starting the Google Calendar so we can both see who's doing what, and we're juggling 2 kids too, so.
That's awesome. Definitely
need some organization.
Right. Well, so you guys kind of share a calendar, and that Google, the electronic, obviously allows you to share that calendar real easily. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, great. Thanks for sharing that. Esther, how about you? You're on mute, by the way. Nope, she's still going to stay muted maybe, so she is there. Francesca, do you want to unmute yourself?
There you go. Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Esther's in the chat box. She doesn't have a microphone.
Oh, okay, perfect. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, perfect. And Francesca may be in the same situation. North Tampa. Who's my North Tampa? What group is that? You guys are muted.
Hey, it's us.
Who's us?
It's Nikki, Tina, and Gina.
Awesome. Good deal. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. Awesome.
Are we on video or not?
Yeah. I don't see yeah. Hit Alt V. Can you do Alt V?
Do it again. I saw you guys for a second. There you are.
Where?
Sweet. You can see us?
I'm not going up enough. Oh yeah, now we can see you.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Nikki.
Hey.
Hey, guess what? You know what? Why I got you on the video? So here's the deal. An agent who joined us here in Orlando, I thought about you. He shared with me. He's doing a really great job. He came from a Keller Williams office over here, but he was a killer whale trainer.
No way. What's his name?
Brent Aucoin.
Brent sounds familiar.
Aucoin.
CION.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I thought that was cool. So he's doing.
That's
It's
fun.
been a while.
And we have lots of mutual friends.
Yeah, I bet you that's fun.
I have a couple friends that work at SeaWorld.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked that, by the way, you guys know Nikki used to be a dolphin trainer at the Clearwater one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Clearwater and then Theater of the Sea.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought about you. So, hey, and so how about you guys? What's a quick poll there? Electronic or paper or both?
Both.
Yep. Yeah.
I use my phone and then I back it up just in case anything happens to my phone on paper. And then I have to-do lists like daily that I bring with me.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I think that's, and anybody else in the room want to share? Or are they pretty much the same?
Yeah, no, I'm total electronic. If it's a really important day, like tons of appointments, I'll put it on paper, and things I have to go through, I'll just check them off.
Awesome. Good deal. Perfect. Love it.
Oh, Gina's not participating today.
She's camera shy. All right. Good deal. All right. No problem, Gina. That's fine. Okay. That's perfect. Well, and we can see you guys. So that's perfect. Thank you. All right. Let me just go through. Laura, we spoke to. Francesca, we tried. Sarah. Hey, Sarah, you there? You're on mute.
I'm here.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
I do both with my husband's schedule. It's easy for me to send him stuff with my phone, but I also need stuff on paper so I can see it.
Awesome. Perfect. So combination of both. It tends to be that's where everything's headed, because there is convenience in that, and that's awesome. Hey, Julie Brantley, how are you? You're muted right now. Can you see us? We can't see you and we can't hear you, so you have to unmute yourself if you want to talk. If not, just leave yourself muted, and that's fine. We're not here to put pressure on anybody. We're not like at the church where they say, all right, we love having visitors, but all visitors stand up, raise your hand, tell us your life. One of those things. So it never makes it fun. All right, so good. So that's generation 2. Everybody got that? Most of us are living here, right, on calendars, appointment books, electronic calendars, all right? So we're doing these kind of things. So generation 3 begin to add prioritization, clarifying values, and goal setting. Okay, so now we're headed to where Covey would say we're going to have a 4th generation here in a minute, but where now we can not only just have a to-do list, but we need to prioritize those things, and those priorities ideally focus around values and goals and mission statements and vision statements that we've created. We begin to measure, right, not just our to-do list, as generation 1 and 2 is a means of survival. Would you agree? Okay. It's like, hey, in order to make sure kids don't get kicked out of school, that they get to stay on the soccer team, that I stay in shape, and all these different things, these different tasks that we have to complete through the day. And it's like a gauntlet to be maneuvered, right? And if I check those off and poof, you get to the end of the day, it's 10:30, 11, 11:30, midnight. I see when you guys post on Facebook, right? Okay. When you get to the end of the day, you're like, holy, whew, I just survived another day, right? So what we want to try and get us to is not just survival, okay? Let's not just survive, let's thrive. Got it? You understand the difference between the two, right? Is that survival mode is, I can live to tell my story and live to live another day, right? Okay, so we don't want to first of all, it's good. It's better than not surviving. I get that. But compared to what it could be, let's make sure that we're focusing on some different cool things, all right? So what we're going to do is learn to add prioritization, clarifying our values and goal settings, because we're going to prioritize. Now, we can prioritize around the most urgent things, and that's a start, right? Hey, look, of these 10 things on my list, this has to happen. I mean, if numbers 9 and 10, or number 3 and number 7 got pushed back to tomorrow, then that'd still be okay. All right, no one's going to die, right? Okay, but 1, 2, 4, and 8 have to happen, right? So we begin to prioritize, right? Okay, let's make sure we put those in first, and then let's work around, and it'd be nice if I could get those other things done, right? So that's the whole idea of generation 3. You begin to prioritize those things, all right? And then finally, in this 4th generation, you begin to focus on preserving and enhancing relationships. You see where I love this, right? Where this ties right into our generosity generation, into the 7 levels of communication, where now we're going to put into our calendar and our time management anything we're doing, however we're doing our time management, that we're going to focus on preserving and enhancing relationships. And those relationships are going to come in different roles, and we'll talk about that, and accomplishing results, all while maintaining what Covey will call the P and PC balance. Once again, let me give this as a moment. Again, I wish I did, all right? I get no overage, override, or benefit by promoting this book, okay? But I'm going to highly encourage you to get into this thing and slowly read it, right? The Mets have not only are reading it, but are listening to it. That is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to gather this information that's in here, right? But PPC balance, let me just do a 30-second sidebar on this. PPC balance, what he means by that is this. P stands for productivity, and the PC stands for productivity capability, all right? We spend so much time on the P, which is the productivity, Go show the home, do this, that's the other. That sometimes we negate to discuss what Covey would call the PC, the production capability, which is the relationship that brought us the lead that enabled us to have the task of going to show property. Are you with me? Okay, so you can give me a head nod if you're there. And let me say that one more time. I know it's become more than a 30-second sidebar. The PPC balance is critical. P is the thing that produces the productivity, is the actual production. All right, that is, let's use in our example again, listing the home. All right, going and taking the listing. That's P, right? PC is a year and a half ago, you spending time having a cup of coffee with this person and engaging with them in such a way that they know you have their best interests at heart. And so when it came time for them to be transferred out of the area, they chose you because of the relationship you'd already built. That relationship is the PC balance. Are you with me? Okay, got it. Okay, so we're going to do that. In the book, he does a good job. He uses the goose and the golden egg. You guys remember that story? The goose that laid the golden egg? Okay, where the golden egg is the P, but the goose is the PC. That's the capability of producing the P. All right, so, all right, let's got that down. Now, this is a huge chart. I don't know if you can see this, all right, and read it well. You might want to somehow find a way that you can go Google this and just put Covey's quadrant, 4 quadrants of time management. All right, Google that. I think that's where I found it years ago, right? Google that. If you need to blow it up, all right, I'm going to cover briefly the 4 quadrants, and then we're going to discuss why quadrant 2 is where we ideally would love to spend most of our time. Okay, now look on the left side of the quadrant. We've got at the bottom left-hand corner, not important at all, and important at the top, all right? And then across the other side, we have urgent and not urgent, all right? So again, the difference between these things are discussed greatly at length in the book, all right? But let's give an example in quadrant 1, where things that are urgent and important, okay? These are things that have to deadline-driven projects, all right? I've got a closing in 2 days, and the lender hasn't got us the closing disclosure yet. That's an urgent item, correct? All right, so that's where we spend what he calls crises, deadline-driven projects, firefighting. That's where most of us spend too much of our time. I get it, we have to, right? That's okay. But let's cover the other quadrants real fast, and I'll show why quadrant 2 is the winner, all right? Quadrant 3 are not important and urgent. These are interruptions, most meetings and emails, all these things that pop up, a notification that pops up on our phone, an email ding, bing, bling, or whatever you've got your phone doing that notifies you every time you get an email, every time you get a text, every time. I mean, God bless us, this new home we have that we're spending some time in Windermere didn't have a door or a peephole, right? Well, it has a door, sorry. Okay, didn't have a window door. I'm used to having windows in my doors where I can see if somebody rings the doorbell, who's there, right? Didn't even have a peephole, right? And it's lined out in such a way that really somebody, even if I looked out one of the side windows, I couldn't see who was there. Now it's in a gated community, so we feel pretty safe. But that being said, I don't like not knowing who's at my door. I'm not going to answer the door if I don't know who's there, right? So we got one of these new Ring doorbells, which is really cool, right? You're seeing those Ring doorbells where now it has a camera going on. You can know when the UPS guy delivers stuff and all sorts of things. But it not only tells me when somebody pushes the button, but if there's motion at my door, right? Well, when I first had that setting out there, talking about, man, I couldn't get away because my phone kept dinging, ringing, or blinging, right? Every time the wind blew, all right? Because it would create the motion, and it would say, hey, there's motion at your door. So I had to adjust the settings. But that being said, we can let this get away from us, right? Where these interruptions, these details, these notifications that we have will drive us batty if we aren't careful, right? So those are the not important but urgent items, things that, hey, look, still feel urgent to me, but they're really, the whole scheme of things, aren't as important. They don't have to be done right now, okay? Quadrant 4, this is not urgent, not important. That's stuff that, hey, look, man, that's just trivial work, busy work, time wasters, or it could be just fun activities. There's nothing wrong with that, all right? But these are, we got to be careful and not spending too much time in here because now we're not being productive, all right? Now, let's talk quadrant 2. when I first saw this, I had to let this sink in for a bit. He wants us, and I would agree now after I've let it sink in, that we want to focus on the not urgent, okay, but important. This is the PC, right? This is not a crisis, but the goose needs to be attended to. Not only the golden egg, but the goose has to be attended to. That's the PC opportunity, right? These are things where, again, going back to that book that I was discussing earlier about understanding the difference between poverty and wealth mindset, right? Wealthy people focus on long-term protection of their assets, right? They're not just in survival mode. They're thinking about 5 and 10 years down the road, decisions they make now, right? And therefore, wealthy people read contracts that they sign to the nth degree because they know that one word could transfer assets if they missed it, right? It's just, those are things that, hey, look, if I'm so busy in quadrant 1, just putting out a crisis, oh, they said this needs to be signed, just sign the dang thing and get it out of here, right? And then 3 years later, you find out that it came back to bite you, all right? And these are things that I'm learning as well, right? That I'm having to learn to spend more time, not here, certainly not here and here, but in quadrant 2, building the capabilities, thinking about what's going to create long-term sustainability in not only my business, all right, but for my family, right? But also maximizing my opportunities. I want to take advantage of the opportunities I have, and those may be relationships, they may be actual opportunities in my life that sometimes we miss because we're too busy putting out crises and firefighting. Are you with me? All right. It's an eye-opener, and it may take you a couple days to noodle on this thing a little bit to let it sink in, okay? So we want to do that. So the quadrant 2 things are not urgent. They don't have to be done today, but they're focusing more long-term. It's thinking about, what is my mission statement for my business, right? And remember, you all are your own business owners, so you should have your own mission statement. What is my vision for my business? What is my 1 week, 1 month, 1 quarter, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10-year plan, right? Now that it's like, I don't, Bob, forget 10 years. I'm trying to deal with what I'm going to do within the next 10 minutes. And I get that, but that's what Covey is imploring us to think about, is what this quadrant 2 can bring to our lives. Now, again, perfect world, we sit around and, pontificate on what things are going to look like 5 and 10 years from now. Real world is stuff has to get done, right? I get that. But we don't spend enough time here. Now I'm going to go back, and if you guys could unmute, let's dialogue, and just remember to tell me, just give me some initial thoughts on what I'm presenting here. And again, unmute yourself, just say, hey, this is so-and-so, and here's what I think, just so we aren't speaking over each other.
Hey, this is Janine. I think, a big part of quadrant 2 is planning, planning your, like you said, 2-year, 5-year plan down the road. When I started doing that, thinking of maybe 04 or something like that, everything changed so quickly.
It's the whole idea of reverse engineering, right? And that's why he does it in habit 3, because habit 2 was thinking about what 5 and 10 years looks like, right? It's begin with the end in mind. But now we're going to start, if we quadrant 2, we spend time actually reverse engineering. I like that term, right? Where we're going to take the end result that we want, and we're going to reverse engineer what I need to do today that's going to lead me to that ultimate vision I have for my life 5 or 10 years from now. Are you with me? That's great. Great feedback. Anybody else?
Go ahead on mute. It is. Oh, hey, this is Mike, Wesley Chapel.
Hey, Mike.
It looks like I'm looking up because I'm looking up at the
big screen. I can picture you. I can envision you guys there.
Yeah, so I'm not looking at the computer. That's why I'm looking up. Years ago I did Kobe when I was working in management. I remember the same 4 quadrants, and awesome. they were very valuable. In the context is a lot of us in work were just focusing on 3 and 4, which is the day-to-day stuff. And we were missing the point, which was getting the stuff done. So the people that were really producers and really active and always got the raises, the promotions, and so on were the quadrant 2 people. And as managers, we tried to do all 4, and we realized that we really need to concentrate on quadrant 2. And what I stress to everybody is look at quadrant 3 and 4 and see how much time you spend in quadrant 3 and 4 your day, and look at your life balance. You're going to find that you're not really being productive. And really work on 2, because it produces raises, it produces results, it produces life balance, and that's what we need to do. We really do concentrate on 3 and 4 on a regular basis. It's easy to do day-to-day stuff, but it doesn't really result in satisfaction in life or in work.
That's awesome, and that is incredible feedback right there. And I love the fact that you've kind of had to deal with this in the past already, because this stuff's been around a while. I mean, Covey wrote this back in early to mid 80s sometime.
I think that's when I was reading it, by the way.
That's right. That's great. That's fantastic. And it has life application to this day. And again, what does that balance look like, right? I understand that, hey, look, we can't sit around just planning all day long, right? Stuff has to get done, right? And so I'm with you there. But the problem exists is that I think we spend, to Mike's point, we spend too much time here and never spend any time here. So we got to look at the balance of those. So that's great feedback. Anybody else have anything they want to share?
This is Margot.
Hey, Margot.
But hi. I spent basically my entire day in 3 and 4 with 2 little kids and running around in circles. And part of like what I feel like creating a business, you have to be in 2, because it's like, that's what I feel like. It's like I could run around doing little things. I'm just busy. I'm not actually like moving towards my goals.
That is great feedback. And so again, this isn't going to be an overnight thing. All right. Realize that. Right. And to Mike's point, when you start to really map out and maybe monitor how much time you're spending in 3 and 4, and a lot of times 1 as well, right? Where we're just firefighting, and that's okay. I mean, those fires have to be put out, right? We got to be safe. We got to survive the day. I get it. Right. But if we can, and it has to be intentional, this is not going to happen willy-nilly or by happenstance, right? If we're intentional about scheduling some quadrant 2 time, and I have to do it myself all the time, right? Then we can begin to see how, and you know what? If nothing else, we begin to visualize as I'm doing a task. Once I learn this and start to institute it, now I'm thinking, hey, what quadrant am I in right now? Right? I have that discussion with myself all the time, and that's why visuals are so important. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing, Margot. Anybody else got anything they want to add? No? Hey, who's V20? Anybody? I want to admit that you're V20. I see you down there. No? Okay, cool. All right. So that's the whole idea of the quadrants. Hey, how'd those get on there? You guys draw those on there? You drew those, you guys see those red lines on there? Yeah? Interesting. I don't know. That's kind of cool. So you guys can do that on mine? Or did I do that accidentally? I probably hit a button. Who knows? You see that I use paper, not technology as much. All right. Cool. All right. Okay, here we go. This is the heart of, okay, so this is in Covey's book. At least
yeah.
Who's this? Nope, lost you again. All right, so on pages 153 and 54 in this book, at least, it's in habit 3. This is the heart of effective personal management. It deals with things that are not urgent but are important. And that's what Mike was talking about, that the management people and the people that are higher up, and that's what you are in your own business, need to spend more time in dealing on things that are not urgent but are still important. All right, I had a note here on page 154, ironically, in my book, highlighted and starred. Remember, that's a big thing. When it's highlighted, starred, and I have notes on the side, that's like a must reread thing, all right? It says, in this, you guys have heard of Peter Drucker? Mike probably has, right? Peter Drucker is the 1-minute manager and all those kind of things. He was one of the forerunners of this. So Covey's quoting Drucker in this. It says, to paraphrase Peter Drucker, effective people are not problem-minded. They're opportunity minded. They feed opportunities and starve problems. They think preventively. Let me say that again. All right, it's in the book. Effective people are not problem minded. Remember, problem minded people are fire putter outers, if I can say such a thing. Okay, that they run around just trying to solve problems all the time, right? They're not problem minded. They understand they exist, all right? They feed opportunities and starve problems. And because, now again, it's not going to happen overnight, but if let's flash forward 5 years from now, if 5 years from now I had done what I'm supposed to do today, then I'm not going to have as many problems because I was proactive and I nipped those problems in the bud on the front side. Are you with me? Because now my opportunities overtake my problems. Are you with me? They starve out. It's kind of so I've got at my house in Nashville, we're fighting violet. All right, violet's like a clover, a weed, right? That's in there. And the guys who do my lawn, they said, "Hey, look, it's going to look ugly first, right? You're going to take some steps backward because violet is one of the toughest things. But in order to kill it, it's going to. And there's not something that kills the weed and still keeps the grass when we're talking about violet, right? It's immune to those other things, right? But he said the goal is that I kill the violet and we simultaneously feed the grass, the good grass, and eventually the grass will choke out the violet. Are you with me? And so it just hit me as I was reading this again that I want to learn to, as much as I can, kill the problem, but feed the grass. And the grass is the opportunity, right? The positive aspect, the proactivity in my business, right? I want to feed that so the problems get choked out by all the proactive, positive added actions that are coming out of my proactivity. Does that make sense? All right. So think about that. You know, again, obviously I like things like corn and orange groves and weeds and grass, all that kind of stuff, because it drives it home for me, right? But let's feed our grass, choke out our weeds, right? And spend some time that we got to fertilize the grass. And that's what quadrant 2 is fertilizing the grass. Okay. All right. So moving on. Okay. Continue living in quadrant 2. All right. Learn to say no to quadrant 3 and 4 activities. Mike, that's what you hit on, right? Is that your group decided you spent too much time in 3 and 4, right? And it was time to consciously decide to stop doing as much in 3 and 4 and to say no to those things that were dragging me away from quadrant 2, right? We overtask ourselves because we overcommit. Agreed? All right. Goes a great length in the book about that. Okay. Okay, so on page 160, obviously, this is the first time I'm reading this again. The objective of quadrant 2 management is to manage our lives effectively from a center of sound principles. Here we go. Now it goes back to, remember that, what is this sound principles? That goes back to us being mission and vision created beings, right? So from a center of sound principles, remember, we're going to be principle centered, not reactionary, right? We're going to let principles choose our activities, not just a reactive nature, right? From a center of sound principles, from a knowledge of our personal mission with a focus on the important as well as the urgent. And within the framework of maintaining a balance between increasing our production, P, along with, that's our eggs, golden eggs, along with our production capability, spending some time making sure that the goose is well fed as well. Are you with me? Okay, perfect. It's a great quote, by the way. Go back. I will post the PowerPoint of this on the 100K page if you want to go back and take a look at it later. Okay. All right. 6 criteria for a quadrant 2 organizer. So if you were going to move to a quadrant 2 organizer, which is what he would call the level 4, remember the 4th generation of time management, right? It's going to be, there's going to be coherence between your vision, mission, goals, plans, and disciplines, right? You're going to, by the way, Covey years ago struck a relationship with Franklin planners. Do you guys remember the Franklin planners? Okay, back in the day, were real thick, right? Okay, but now it's called Franklin Covey, by the way. And in that, they struck a relationship, and now they've got these planners that I don't use one because they're pretty thick and bulky to carry around, but they promote having your vision, mission, goals, plans, and disciplines at the front of every week, right? So you're constantly writing these things into your planner. So now it's just driving that home. I'm not saying it's not a good idea. It is. It'd be awesome to have, right? But if you can continue to drive down, what is my true purpose, right? What's my mission? What's my goal? What's my vision for my business? All right. And then you're going to do that. You're going to proper perspective, reflecting your various roles in life. Now, here's what I want you to hear me clearly on this. And again, you think I'm going to push you back to the book. All right. The book does a great job of helping you understand that each of us, from Janine to Margot to Rick and Mike to Sandra to John Bates is on there too. Hey, John. All right. To my North Tampa group, to Mara Lee, to Laura Ham. How do you spell? Well, Laura, you have to tell us when you unmute yourself how to pronounce your last name. Henry, Esther, Frances, Sarah, Sarah, Julie, and that's it right now. All right. Every one of us have different roles in our life. Okay. And you guys understand what I mean by roles. Okay. My role is I am the broker, owner, founder of Future Home Realty. That's one role. I also am a father. It's another role. I'm also a husband. That's another role. I'm also a leader at my church. That's another role, right? So all these different roles, and I may have different mission statements for each role, ideally, right? And so when I do that, I want to make sure that my balance and I put the proper perspective reflecting my various roles, okay? Margot, for instance, she mentioned that she maps out, what we're going to, her role as a caretaker, a caregiver in her household is to make sure everybody's fed, right? And so she maps out, hey, what are we going to have every night? Let's plan out what dinners are for the week and so on and so forth. By the way, quick, again, another plug for that other book I mentioned, that Ruby Payne book. All right. Middle class people, middle class and wealth, go shopping once a week. All right. Poverty, they shop every day. They go to 7-Eleven and find out, okay, I survived lunch, right? Now it's time. What we're going to do for dinner, God only knows. All right. But they're constantly, and by the way, if you found this, and I found this to be true, that if I plan my stuff out and I can shop for the week, then I can be much more time efficient and much more budgetary efficient, right? I save money because I actually plan things out, like knowing, hey, look, I'm going to roast a whole chicken. We're not going to eat the whole chicken on Sunday night. All right. So we can make chicken noodle soup, homemade. By the way, I make killer chicken noodle soup. All right. With this homemade noodles. All right. It's awesome. Right. So, but we always do chicken noodle soup like a couple days later with the chicken that's left over from the roasted chicken we had on whatever day it was 2 days before, right? So you begin to do these things that enable you to actually save money and do some different things, all right? So proper perspective in that. Quadrant 2 focus, all right? So this planner needs to be focused on quadrant 2 stuff. The key is not to prioritize. Ooh, this is a good phrase. Read that one. The key is not to prioritize your schedule. So obviously I wrote those red marks on my desktop somehow, didn't I? Because they're there on this screen as well. Okay. The key is not to prioritize your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. Wow. Okay. Quadrant. Remember the third generation not third quadrant, but the third generation of planners says you begin to introduce prioritization into your day, right? This says, fourth generation says, I'm not going to prioritize my schedule, but I'm going to schedule my priorities. All right. That's quadrant 2 focus. All right. Has a people dimension. All right. Not efficiency in dealing with time, but effectiveness in dealing with people. Remember we talked about that, I think last time, that I learned in Covey. All right. That we've learned that you can't be efficient in dealing with people. All right. Try and do that with a relationship. It doesn't work, right? You have to be effective with people, efficient with time. You see the difference, okay? Flexibility, planning tools should be your servant, never your master, right? I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, look, I don't care. All right, Margot, we talked about how things move and things get crossed off and moved to tomorrow. And I'm sure we're all like that, right? And that's okay. All right, it's a tool All right. And it's your servant, not your master. You don't need to be a slave to this thing. You need to be in charge of it instead of it in charge of you. All right. And portability. You need to have it with you most of the time. If that could be electronic, that's fantastic. Whatever that might look like for you. Okay, cool. All right. 4 key activities. Here we go. Identifying our role. Individual. I'm an individual person, a spouse, a parent, a business owner, a church leader, a nonprofit chairperson, a civic leader, etc. You all, each one of us have these different roles. Selecting goals, 1 or 2 for each role in the next 7 days. So if we were going to do our Sunday night ritual, I'm trying to put some, what's the word I'm looking for? Clarity and structure to our Sunday night ritual, right? That if you began to look at, say, okay, in all my different roles, and it might be 3, might be 6 different roles you exist in, all right? That I'm going to make sure that I set 1 or 2 specific, SMART, remember what SMART goals are? Specific, measurable, achievable, what's R? Can't remember what R is, and T is a time component to it, meaning it has a deadline, right? For each role in the next 7 days. Here's what I want to do. Okay, boom. You're going to find that then now you're beginning to schedule your priorities instead of prioritize your schedule. Okay, scheduling. All right, meaning on page 164 and 165, we're going to look at those and say, okay, now I've selected those goals. How do I schedule those goals into my week? And then daily adapting. Revisit briefly on a daily basis with a focus on balanced activities that are in harmony with your mission. Means I'm going to check up on things. Okay, where did I spend my day? To Mike's point, if we began to track our time, right, and we did it actual down to the 10-minute increments, what I did today, it would be eye-opening and shocking for us, right? Most of us would say, wow, can't believe if I'm honest with myself, wasted that much time on that, right? Or, man, it seems like I was returning emails all throughout the day, which is quadrant 1, right? At best, maybe even quadrant 3, rather than scheduling, hey, between 11:30 and noon, I'm going to return my emails. And again, between 4:30 and 5, I'm going to return my emails, right? Allowing me to have some other time open for this other stuff that would be quadrant 2 stuff. Are you with me? Instead of, return, reply, reply. Now, there are some times that has to happen, right? I get that, but I'm just telling you, if most of the time, if you looked at it, that could have waited 3 hours to be returned, all right? Cool. 4th generation summary, it's principle-centered. It values what is really important and effective. It's conscience-directed, opportunity to organize your life in harmony with your deepest values while giving you the freedom to subordinate your schedule to higher values, right? So I'll post these again. This is because we're wrapping up here, but I want to make sure you understand that these concepts, and again, listen or read Covey, and he does a much better job than I ever will of trying to get this message across. It defines your mission, including your values and long-term goals, direction and purpose for each day. Remember, this is all longer term. This is more Orange Grove stuff, right? Where, hey, look, eventually we're going to be able to have a business that's thriving because of decisions we made today, because I decided to have a 2 and a 5 and a 10-year goal, all right? And a map of what that's going to look like. Helps you identify your balance between the different roles in your life. And it gives you greater value through weekly planning as opposed to a daily just to-do list, right? Nothing wrong. Now, your to-do list should be reflective of what your weekly planning looked like back when you did it. Cool? That's the end of my PowerPoint. Let's talk here. What time is it? All right, so we've gone in about an hour. Let's spend about, how about 10 or 15 minutes, just if you have time, to dialogue a little bit on what you guys were thinking about some of the stuff. You're so in awe that you're speechless? Is that the case?
Well, I guess that makes me realize how much work I have to do, how much thinking I gotta do to accomplish more.
And that's Sandra, guys. If you didn't know that, thank you, Sandra. That's awesome. And two things on that. All right. So don't let this, let it be an opportunity to grow, not a focus on, boy, what a loser I've been in the past. That's what I do. And I do that sometimes, like, holy smokes, right? Let's say, okay, that's all right, right? Yesterday is yesterday. Remember, one of the next books we're going to read is, if you haven't read it already from a previous 100K, is The Greatest Salesman in the World. And one of the scrolls in the Greatest Salesman in the World is, I will live this day as if it is my last. And what it says is, I'm going to focus on today, right? And in it, because if you remember how he references this, can the sand flow backward through the hourglass? Right. No, it can't go up, right? Hourglass, the sand falls through the hourglass, and that's it, right? What's gone is gone. There's nothing I can do. I can learn from it, right? I can do better, but I'm not going to focus on it and ruin my today while worrying about tomorrow and or focusing on my failures of the past. I'm not saying that's where you were headed. It reminded me that, hey, look, there is a lot of work to do, but let's go back to our 12-step program that we said, hey, we kind of look at ourselves as Alcoholics Anonymous here, right? We're time management offenders anonymous. All right. The first step in any 12-step program is to admit you have a problem. Right? Okay. All right. And then from that admission, then growth can come. So thank you for sharing. I think that's awesome. And again, not going to happen overnight. Okay, cool. Anybody else?
Yeah, I would, on the same type of platform, I think since the 80s, as well as Rick, you know, I've heard a lot of these things over and over again in my life, and it seems like I absorb some of it and I use some of it, but then it goes away again. And then I fall into the other routines. And I think it's just a matter of reviewing it consistently to make it strong habit. And I think it happens over a lifetime, a little bit now, a little bit later.
I totally agree, Janine. And that's fantastic. And you know what? We all have to do that, right? No one's got this 100% down, but it's good to have these reminders. All right. And so now later on, when I just put something out on Facebook, hey, look, how we doing in quadrant 2? All right. Now we know, right, what we're talking about. It's like, hey, okay, good. And those are those little tiny, you know, even if we did hashtag quadrant 2, that's all we need to remind us that, ooh, man, what am I doing today? All right. To remind myself about where I am and where I'm spending my time. So that's awesome. That's fantastic. But the first step is to know, right? And you can't fix what you don't know. And now that you, or re-know, right? And just be reminded of what's happening. So anybody else?
Yeah, this is Mike again. I remember this from, I said, a few years ago, and someone had put it down to sort of like bullet thoughts for me. If you want to get a raise, if you want to get a promotion, if you want to get compliments, if you want to be happy with your life, you want a good work-life balance, you go in quadrant 2. If you don't want those things, if you want to be stressed out, if you want to be running around like crazy with a chicken, your head cut off, if you want to always be firefighting, then you go to the other quadrants. And it was a real practical way of looking at it. Stay in quadrant 2, you're going to get all the things that you want. Go to the other 3 quadrants, you're not going to be there.
That's awesome. It's great feedback. And that kind of boils it down. And it's so, and you know what? That is, again, remember we talked about the big differentiators in the producers and the non-producers, right? I think you even referenced it earlier, Mike, as well, is that there is no competition for success in this business or most other businesses, quite frankly, because the discipline and the knowledge to do of what to do and the discipline to do certain things like what we're talking about today as a tool, all right, are rare, right? Very rare. And because of that, they pay well, because in a supply and demand curve, right, the more rare something is, the more demand there is for it. And the higher that rarity also means expensive, right? If I've got a really rare diamond, right, that means it's more expensive. If I've got a very rare skill set, right, then that is going to be worth more to the marketplace. So great illustration there. I love that. Anybody else?
It's Rick.
Hey, Rick.
You know, after retiring from the military, now that I'm looking at it, boy, there's a lot of officers that I wish would have read this book. Because they had me working in 3 and 4 all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I see this, wow, you know, prioritizing and actually working in 2 would have made my life a lot more effective.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome feedback. And I'm going to challenge each of us to spend some time, all right? And it's going to take an effort, by the way. You're going to have to, again, a conscious decision to move to 2, right? To spend, you know what? And even if it's an hour, right, a week, let's start there. Comparatively, my son Joseph loves the fact that, that when the denominator is 0, then the answer is infinity, right? And so compared to 0, if I spend 15 minutes of this quadrant 2 planning, now compared to 0, I'm infinitely ahead of where I was before. All right. And so that's the good thing about being at 0. I mean, I used to joke around that the good thing about being a teacher when I was a teacher, that it didn't take a whole lot of sales to replace my income. Because I was making so little money, right? So that was the benefit of doing that. It didn't take much to replace and then go above and beyond. So we can focus on that. So thanks for sharing, Rick, as well. Anybody else? No, we got some silent. We got some. And some of these people that are muted, they may not have A, kids at home, or B, they may have speaker issues. So. Hey, Nikki, you got some great dialogue going. I saw your picture. You guys are dialoguing something. Share with us. Was that something regarding this? Unmute yourself, or is it something totally unrelated? You're talking about how to make a good. That your chicken noodle soup would kill mine any day of the week, is what you're saying.
No, it's like, okay, so this is my thing. When I used to work in like animal care and training, I worked 2 jobs because I had to be a server too, because unfortunately, you don't make much money.
Right.
And so when I hit that, it's hard for me to continue motivation because I doubled my salary last year. And then once you double your salary, you're kind of like, okay, I have everything I need. So I guess at that point, it's harder to find the motivation to keep pushing and pushing. I need it, right. Well, that's once we're all closed. Like as soon as my last closing happens and I make the money, it's just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
When no, I shouldn't be.
Yeah. No, I understand. That's awesome. And that's an awesome analysis. Let me ask you this. One thing I think, if you do get a chance to take a peek at the book and you start to think about, hey, I can achieve my goals, but there are some things in my other roles maybe that can drive me.
Right.
My role.
This year we planned way more goals. Like we're completely renovating our house this year, and we're traveling. Like we have 3 huge travel trips planned.
Nice.
So this year it's giving me a lot more motivation than last year, because last year we didn't have any of those goals set, and I was like, well, I made enough money, so now I guess I'm good. And my husband's like, so what are you going to do all day? I'm like, well, hang out, volunteer, like clean the house, hang out with friends.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know what? And sometimes that's okay too, right? And it all based on, long as those goals are mutually agreed upon.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, because you don't want one partner saying, "Hey, look, yeah, you think you've made it, but guess what? I have bigger goals than that." Right? I mean, and so I've been there in my life as well. So those things, are there. But that's awesome, and I think that's fantastic.
Why this year we're like really focusing more on the goals for, I guess, long term too, especially with the house renovation. So we have huge goals with that.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
This is Janine again. I just always have a lot to say.
Good.
I don't know how many other people came from KW backgrounds, but the keeping the end in mind is always done in numbers in any of the classes. Mm-hmm. So let's say we want to make $150,000 this year. They say double it.
Right.
So you start with 300,000, and then you divide, you do this calculation and find out how many listing appointments you have to do every day and how many, whatever, and then put it in your planner. So it's the same, keep the end in mind, and then do the action to make that happen. And
that is the reverse engineering we talked about, right?
Right.
So what's the small step I need to take today that's going to ultimately lead me to the big goal?
Right. But what I was missing, I think, was actually having a life. So now we're doing that. Now we're realizing, okay, we got grandkids, we got this, and now we have to plan like I forgot your name. The trips, we plan the trips, we plan the good stuff.
Nikki, that was Nikki. Yeah.
Yeah. And that changes everything, because then we want to make the money for the good stuff.
That's fantastic.
Motivation.
Right. And that's great. That's cool.
Bob, this is Howard. It's also nice to have an accountability partner such as my wife. So if you get off track, like if a friend calls me and it's not business related, first thing out of her mouth is this business related? It does help.
Yeah, right.
Well, and sometimes, sometimes those calls with friends can lead to business as well, right?
Well,
So,
yes, but it's just the amount of them.
Yeah, I understand.
And the amount of the emails and junk mails and
Right. Understood.
I know
And again,
I know you got your wife doing the same thing. So
absolutely, it's perfect. And we all need that, and that's what those are reminders to make sure that we're quadrant 2 focused and that we're working. I saw a guy post something, that, and this is an older quote, but it's quadrant 2 is the essence of quadrant 2, habit 3 with quadrant 2. Okay, we got a lot of numbers running around here, right? Says it's better to work on my business than work in my business.
there you go.
All right, to kind of nutshell that.
Right.
Right. And that is the longer term range thinking. Now, again, working on your business with all these esoteric, wonderful plans and visions and everything without the work,
the action
that backs that up does us no good. Right. Plans with no action are just plans. They're just, may as well be, dreams. Right. But a good plan actually reverse engineers to the action plan that's going to attain that.
And there comes time management.
There you go. Exactly. And just, again, being accountable to that and making sure. And it's going to be a growth period. So I think I know you guys are getting it. So that's awesome. I love to hear that. So anybody else got anything they want to add before we wrap up?
This is Margot. I was just going to say that I really do try to put the things that are important to me on the calendar first. Like this morning, I wanted to volunteer at my daughter's class, and I was like, well, it's like, I don't know. And I sometimes find more time because I'm so excited about the other things I want to do that then suddenly I can work harder to get everything else done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense. It's like I'm excited to go volunteer, so suddenly the house gets cleaned faster, and I get 100K on time and all those sort of things because I got to do the stuff I wanted to do.
That's awesome. That's really cool. That's a great piece of feedback there. Awesome. So let me ask you this real quick poll. First time we've done this Zoom, that the advantage of this Zoom session is, again, I'll be able to Mara will, after we're done here, take the video portion of this, upload it to YouTube, and then put it on our FHR University. So you'll have that. And those of you, I don't think there's anybody, if anybody's not an FHR agent, which there may, or I'm trying to look through and see. If you're not an FHR agent and you want to rewatch the video of this or see it, then let us know and I can somehow get you the link, I'm sure, somehow.
Well, I'll send Chris and Laura.
Okay.
The link.
Awesome. Perfect. Because the link will be up there. And then also, hey, and I don't know if Mara is listening or not. She doesn't have a microphone, but Mara or camera, if you're, Mara does have a microphone. Mara, you still there?
I am.
Okay. How you doing, Mara? You guys know Mara?
I don't know. I can't see her.
That's right. She doesn't have a camera.
I'm
Mara
incognito.
she has been doing some different roles for us, speaking of roles, and she's been, she was doing some transaction management in-house for us and that kind of thing. Now she's transitioning out of that, only doing it for a very few people, because we're now tasking her to be, her official title is Director of Business Services. And so when a new agent joins us from another company, she is kind of the onboarding liaison. She's helping them walk through that whole process of just making that transition as seamless and smooth as possible, and taking some of that burden off of Jim so that Jim can spend more time getting more agents to have Mara liaison into our business. So we're defining those roles and doing it. But Mara is a lifesaver in all of this kind of stuff. Like she's the one that went and took a Zoom training and then trained me in 5 minutes to do how to do all this stuff. So Mara is just a huge asset to our team. And if you get a chance to see her around sometime, make sure you do that. So Mara, before touting your lauding your praises, I brought you on for a reason. And when we do this link, we could probably post this link in 100K as well, right?
Yeah.
We should be able to. Yeah. What we'll do is I'll experiment with it after we get done, after it finishes processing, and then I'll let you know. We'll post something in 100K to let everybody know when the link is.
Perfect. And then I will make sure, because I have access to the PowerPoint, I'll make sure I load the PowerPoint as well. So people can go back and search that. And then obviously we'll also, if FHR agents will have it on FHR University as well. So, hey, so with that in mind, I know we've got a couple people that got together. Janine, you and Howard had plans to get some people together. I know, boy, it is easy to and again, this is the next best thing, right? To being with each other, right? And I get the fact that, and it's kind of cool, right? That rather than just be on Facebook Live, we can see each other and interact. I think we did a fairly good job of not talking over each other. So I think we're going to head this direction.
I like it.
Sessions, and do it, which enables the ability to get together in small groups so you guys can spend some time for 15 minutes dialoguing, catching up. And if nothing else, I like the whole aspect of, hey, how's it going, right? How's your home renovation going, Nikki, or how's whatever, happening, or whatever, is happening in your life. But gives you the flexibility that, hey, look, if you're Henry and you run into Starbucks, instead of driving all the way down to Clearwater, you can go run into your local Starbucks and still catch us as a group. So I think that's kind of cool. And the ability to do that. So I appreciate your participation. I appreciate your watching us through our learning curve here as we figured out. Janine, thank you for figuring out Alt-V. That adds our video to us. So that's incredible.
Alt-A is audio off and on.
Oh, good. So you can mute yourself and unmute. Oh, look at you. You could tell the older people in us, we're used to those MS-DOS prompts. C://
Now you're really saying how old I am.
I know, you and I both. We remember Romper Room too. I see Janine, I see Margot. You guys have go Google Romper Room, you young people, and don't understand what we're talking about. You'll see some old video clips of Romper Room. So awesome. Hey guys, I appreciate it. We get a quick reminder, we have our office meetings next week. Last things I want to cover, office meetings next week, Tuesday in Tampa, Wednesday for the whole Tampa Bay area, Wednesday in Orlando, Thursday will be the Jacksonville office meeting as well in the Jacksonville office. And then Thursday, April 5th, don't forget we have the Michael Mayer event, right? Hopefully you've registered for that. I think we initially told them 30.
Right?
Said let's cut off registration at 50, and last we checked, we cut off registration at 130. So we're going to have quite a full room in there. I think they got us a bigger room. So that's April 5th at 9:30. Yeah, that's when we're going to get started, right at 9:30 at East Lake Woodlands Country Club in Tampa Bay. So if you haven't seen that, make sure you are aware of that. Anybody else have any words of note? That'll cover next week. Oh, just as the next 100K, we got a little bit of a gap because of I've got a conference I have to attend through Florida Realtors. So our next 100K session for this, and we'll do it again on Zoom, will be Wednesday, April 18th. Wednesday, April 18th, and I'll be live in the Jacksonville office, all right, which may be me, like I'm here live by myself in the Winter Park office, but I'll be there, all right? That's a good spot for me to be anyway. So I'll be live at the Jacksonville office, and then we'll Zoom it again to the groups. So, cool?
Cool.
Take a look at our calendar. It's on our webpage. I think Mara said she got most of it loaded for April. So it's loaded with all sorts of information between stuff we teach live and what we do online, and also what the boards are doing. There's some good stuff happening at the boards of realtors. And as always, if you need anything, reach out anytime and look to see your posts on 100K. And remember to stay diligent. Remember, here's the deal. Our goal is 3 active contracts, or we're sitting open houses, traffic generating events, right? That's what we've got to be doing, the activity that's going to create the results, right? And if we don't have the results, then we got to go back and relook at our activity. Fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day. If you need us for anything, reach out and let us know.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bob.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.